In my shop I have some accumulated things, and these tires are among them. The top two I think are bias-ply, and I think they could be something else. So I'm going to try to maybe repurpose at least one of them today, see what I get and how that works. So let's see what we can do with an old tire. I've done a little bit of research and I can make a pattern. I needed a big piece of paper. I had some paper, so I made this, and it's going to be just the right size now to trace this. This might be the easiest thing to do. I'm going to trace this tire on the inside. I'm going to get around here like so. Myself a pretty good straight line down so that I have a fairly accurate inside diameter. Paper's moving around a little bit on me. I don't know, it's going to be close. I don't think that's too critical. This doesn't have to be all that critical either. I doubt, anyway. My paper's all crinkly. Having a poster board or something would probably have made it easier. But I didn't have one, and this is a spur of the moment, clean the shop, let's do this instead of clean the shop kind of thing. Because hey, isn't making something out of a tire more fun than cleaning the shop? I added some tape because I realized the parts that were inside the lines, when I go to cut this out, I'm just going to have pieces of paper. So I'm going to try to cut this on my line that I made. Or at least close to it so I can have some idea of what I'm doing, what I'm working with. I'm guessing this doesn't have to be exact. It's going to be really good for this knife blade up against the concrete floor, but hey, I've got lots of knife blades. I also have scissors. That's pretty good. This is excess. The hope here is that this old tire is going to turn into a swing that looks like a horse. Now, I took some pictures of one in the park, and I looked up how to make one on the internet, and you know, the internet's got all the answers, and this is how it said to do it. Just cut a piece of paper, draw on the piece of paper what you want your horse to look like, and then cut it out of the tire and bolt it up that way, and voila, it's that easy. So today we're going to find out how easy it really is, or not. Oh yeah, it looks like a horse already. Okay, I'm using my phone to record and to do my research, so I had to not record this part, but I'll walk through it with you a little bit. I have drawn on here, I used, first of all, I pictured this like a clock face, so I was using references in my mind, looking at a pattern I found on the internet, and thinking about, 12 o'clock being up here, 3, 9, 6 down here, and just kind of use that as reference to draw based on what I was looking at on the pattern on my phone from the internet. And I found that it looks like we're about 1:30 over here and about 10:30 over here, and I used my compass to just trace the inside of here and draw this circle around the whole thing, all the way around, not quite a circle actually, back up to here. And then this part around the bottom becomes the stirrup of the bottom of the this part around the bottom becomes the stirrup for the horse, or for the rider, I guess that would be. The top is the back, and then we drew in a line coming off of the divider line going up, not quite to the edge of the tread, because you don't want to cut all the way through there. And that'll be a point where that bends, and this will be the neck of the horse. And then coming up, we cut out a little tweak here to make the ear. And then we got the kind of I think that's the top of the head, and that'll be its nose. Everything's going to be inverted. When you pull this all backwards, it's the tread ends up on the inside, the outside is the inside. So it's going to be weird to think about it here and then end up having it work. I hope this is a good pattern. And then on this side, we kind of do the same thing. It's the haunch. It's got a little different line that comes back around, and this becomes the tail. So now I just need to get this transferred onto the tire and figure out how to cut that tire. See how easy that is? That's going to be around there. That's going to go around there. Overlapping a little bit. I don't know what's wrong with that. Oh, I don't have it all pulled all the way over here. Okay. Now, next thing is find the right kind of pencil to write on a tire. Okay, so I taped the pattern to the tire to hold it in place. And one of the things, if you're a math wizard, you're going to understand that the tire's not flat. The paper was flat when I traced it, so everything's a little bit weird. But I think, you know, a math major could explain how curving the paper changes the diameter and all of that. So all that to say, the tail overlaps the head, the nose over here, but the length of the tail is optional. So what I'm going to do is just tape that right there at the edge of the tread, and when we make that pattern, the tail will end where the nose begins, and that will be that. I did find I have this pencil that has mechanical working, and I have interchangeable lead for it, and this one is yellow, which actually shows up on the tire fairly well, a little better than other things. I have a soapstone somewhere, but I don't know where I left it, and so I was going to kind of do a test between the two, but this works well enough. I think I'll be able to see it once I get it traced on there. So I'm going to trace this here now, probably speed up the video so you don't have to watch me trace, but this is going to be a little tricky. Like this right here is overlapping, but I'm going to trace this line, and that'll be the line we use. And we'll come down. It'd be really nice if I could put this yellow lead in my compass and just trace this around like I did the other originally, but I use my little finger and hopefully keep a somewhat even Maybe when I take the pedal, straighten out that circle. Now, little finger over here. But remember, you're making a child's toy out of an old tire, so how exact do you really have to be? I've been accused of being a perfectionist. I prefer to think of myself as a recovering perfectionist. I still have relapses, but I'm getting better. Oh, it's looking like a horse already, don't you think? Things we do for our grandkids. Oh, and to get out of cleaning the shop, you know. Flipped everything over to trace the horse on the opposite side of the tire. You remember you have to flip the pattern and everything so that you get the other side, and you want to make sure that the places that are staying together across the tread line up from this side to that side. So that was a little bit tricky, but I got a reference point and secured it there, and then worked my way around and checked the other end and adjusted a little, and we're going to be close enough. And then I had to figure out, okay, how do you get to cut this tire? And a little bit of research, a bias-ply tire will cut with a sharp knife. That sounded like a lot of manual labor to me. So what I did was I took an oscillating tool blade to the grinder and sharpened it to a little bit of a knife-like edge. And I honestly might need to slow this down because it really cuts well. Isn't that amazing? Oh, I didn't get through all of it. I started here, and so I only took that. So that was real time. I'll probably do the rest of this kind of sped up. That yellow pencil didn't work as well as I hoped. But I can see it a little closer. Okay, looks like a horse already. So when this comes around here and folds up this way, and this goes around here, folds up that way, pretty sure these break get inverted. This goes like so, and yeah, looks like a horse. Okay, I'm doing some additional cutting. I didn't have these cut close enough to the tread. There's no way they're going to flex and bend the way they look in the picture, the way they were. So, you know, learning as you go. Okay, is that making more flexible? We're going to turn something into something here. Yeah, we'll get there. One way or another. Inverted. That's going to be a horse's head. Ugh. Looks more like a cow. Well, hey, you know, you can ride cows. They do it in rodeos or bulls, something. Maybe these are horns. Pull this down here. I'm wrestling I feel like a rodeo rider. Who's the guy that catches the calf, ropes him? This is really easier than it looks. You might be figuring it out. You start where you have leverage first. You get in the middle and you lock it around this way. That helps hold that. And then I got this guy back that way. So maybe this side will reverse, follow suit. But, oh, you got to do it this way up. This way. Put your foot on it. See how easy that is? Probably had a camera range there. I'm a wrangler. Okay, next thing's next. Where do you drill the holes? Probably should have recorded that because it would have been fun to watch. This old guy, it's a matter of turning everything inside out and folding it back. And so in order to hold it, I got these clamps out. And the first thing I did was I clamped the nose, so like this. And so I think the next thing we'll have to do is put a bolt through here. And then we need to fasten this side here, and then the same thing on this side where these little clamps are. And then on this part, pull that together, bring his neck in, and put a long bolt in between here to hold that. Probably need to get those bolts up close to the edge of the tread inside there. Pull that in there. And that'll make the neck and the head, and it'll look pretty cool, I think. Not sure it looks like a horse, but it'll look pretty cool. Back here, I don't think this is too big a deal, and that part may be a little more trimming and that kind of thing. But the biggest thing is make it look like the head, so the head looks like a horse. And once you're sitting on it, you're riding a horse, right? That's cool. Okay, so I was able to drill a hole. I was using a 1/4 inch hole for a 1/4 inch bolt. And I got the nose bolted here with a long bolt. And I got the first one here. I'm going to do the next one from the other side. If I can do that, roll over, big boy. And we'll put one right here to hold his head there. Then we'll work on some longer ones to go across here. So let's drill a hole. Got plenty of meat there. The other side I was a little short. The way it's cut. Trying to grind a little extra out of that because they fit tight. It doesn't really drill very well. It just kind of goes through. Gotta use a screw that's long enough. First time I tried it, I thought the bolt would be just right, but it was just short. Yeah, that's gonna work. Some washers. Working around my clamp. Not the bolts in the hole, I don't really think there. Take you in for a closer look. Kind of looks like a dead horse, doesn't it? All right. Nuts on the inside should be pretty safe. The one up here in the front, I just used a longer bolt to pull it all together. I guess that looks okay. I put a nut on the inside to tighten against over here. That just seemed like a good way to make it tight. Probably ought to grind that just so it's not catching on anything. That'll be last minute stuff. We'll see how it looks when we're done. That's where we're at so far. Like that in the neck, they actually used turnbuckles in the middle so that it was kind of adjustable. I don't know, I don't have that. I'm doing this with all pieces that I have. So this is what you get. What you get in this case is used carriage bolts. I used a little bigger drill bit that time. That's much better. I think he looks more like I think he looks more like a cow than a horse, but you know, that's all right. Okay, I took a break and I ate some lunch. And I came back and I forgot to turn the camera back on. What I have done is I've trimmed this a little bit on the tail section, took the sidewalls off so it'll bend a little easier. I added my hanging hook here. Somewhere in the process of all of that, I did slip with this blade, and now I have a bandage on my thumb. So there's that. You want to be careful with those kind of things. And now I'm ready to put this bolt in here to bend the tail over so that this becomes our hanger. And hopefully this will line up and actually get on there. I might have to clamp it to get it to happen. Might have to clamp it to get it to happen. Okay, missing one more thing, and that's a hanger in its head. I think we need one right here. Maybe a little further back so the head hangs out in front. I'm going to stop and look at some pictures. Okay, after further review, some of the pictures actually use in the back, instead of using an extra hanger, they just put a rope in this loop right here, which would be fine. And then I was right, they put, some of them use a rope between, in this hole here where the ears are, but most of them I have it back behind the head a little bit. So I think what we'll do, I could actually not have the steel thing sticking out here. I could just put a hole through and tie the rope to the bolt that's under here. That would work. I haven't gone so far as to see what I have to hang it, but I think I can use a rope. And the other thing that I noticed is some of them have, instead of hanging it with just like from the tail and the head to one point, they have a bar above it that that way you could create a better balance and have it right side up. That's the way the one was in the park. So I think what I need to do next is drill this hole, figure out how we're hanging it with what material, and then maybe figure out a bar. Maybe I have a bar. I don't know. Okay, so I went after it again without turning on the camera. Sorry about that. It's not a lot of high-tech stuff though. I found I had a piece of Schedule 80 PVC. This is great because it's going to be excellent outside. It's sunlight resistant, it's waterproof, it's not going to rust. That's probably the best part of the whole thing. And I just had a piece of it. Who knows what I was ever going to use it for other than something like this. But we hang her like so. I bet she weighs 30 pounds. At least it feels like it like this. Probably not, probably half that. But anyway, I'm old and weak. So there's your horse. Whee! Whee! I'll get some details here. You might be a better knot tyer than I am. I just tried to cut or do square knots. I put the rope around the inside on that bolt that goes through there. That is a couple layers of tape wrapped around that to protect the rope from the threads. I thought that might be sharp, might wear it. So that might be a little safety thing to do. Then it's just straight through the neck. I think a guy could drill some holes across the top of here and put some other pieces of rope, maybe white or something, to make a mane. I might still do that before I hang it up. But then over here, I don't know if I showed you this, we've just got the eye bolt in through the loop in the tail, and it's tied to that rope. That's a continuous piece through the pipe. Thought that might be safer than trusting my knots on the top. And then we'll hang it from that, and hopefully it'll be a good balance, and she'll hang with her head up high. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's interesting, this little creation here, kind of a recreation. Look at that. Out of an old tire. Something made new. That reminds me of a Bible verse where those who believe in Jesus Christ are made into new creations. Might have been as worthless as a tire carcass, but now repurposed to something new. God bless you. Here's a bit of fine tuning since I got it out here and put some weight on it. This wanted to flatten out the other way, and then that made the side stick out to the side and made a bird bath in the middle of it. So I was trying to avoid that. So I took carriage bolts put through from this side to fasten to the other side, but I wanted carriage on both sides because that's where, you know, these little legs are going to be and that kind of thing. So I had to, I didn't have any way to fasten them together, so I welded two nuts together and just threaded them into each other that way. And hopefully that'll hold and be okay, and that lets it be nice on the outside. So I think that's it. I did also add a little mane with some rope. Over time, maybe that'll fray and look more like hair, but looks kind of like dreads right now, but that's okay. Kind of fun. I enjoyed this little project, and we'll see how the little one likes it. I made a horse.